Today, you are about to experience a life where the world decides your face is your destiny and spends decades refusing to see your mind. You were born in Vienna in 1914 into a comfortable Jewish family. The city is a crossroad of empire and art, music and machinery. You are given the name Hedwig Kiesler. From the beginning, you are more than one thing. You are intelligent, curious about how things work, and drawn to performance. Your father walks with you through the streets and explains how a streetcar moves. Your mother fills the house with music and manners. You learn early that a question can be more interesting than an answer. Vienna between wars is elegant and uncertain. You are a child with dark hair, wide-set eyes, and a hunger to know how things work. You perform for guests, invent small theatrical scenes, then disappear into your father's explanations of engines, gears, and the flow of electricity. The world begins to notice your face before it notices anything else. You enter European film while still young. The camera loves you, and the industry says that is enough. Your beauty brings attention quickly. At first, attention feels like opportunity. Then attention becomes a kind of cage. Directors frame your face. Producers sell your stillness. They rarely ask what you think. You are looked at constantly, but you are not listened to. You have two choices: accept the role other people have designed for you, or keep a private inner life that refuses to be defined by it. You choose to keep a private inner life. You continue reading, sketching, asking how a camera shutter or a chemical bath works. And that choice changes what the world thinks it knows about you. You become a performer who is also, secretly, an apprentice to machines. This decision does not make you safer. It makes you harder to read. In an industry that wants a face, a mind is an inconvenience. You learn to present one version of yourself to the lights and keep another version to yourself. The gap between those two versions will follow you for decades. Then Friedrich Mandel enters your life. That he is a wealthy Austrian arms manufacturer, older, connected, used to control. The marriage offers you a castle of certainty, dresses, houses, power, protection. But there is a cost. You are not invited to be a partner. You are invited to be an ornament. You have two choices: accept the protection of a wealthy and controlling marriage, or refuse it and face a film world that has already begun to reduce you. You choose to marry. And that choice changes the shape of your days. You are no longer a young actress. You are a hostess, a collector's prize, a woman watched by servants and associates. Inside that world, Europe grows louder with danger. Mandel's meetings are filled with men who discuss weapons, aircraft, torpedoes, and radio control. You are expected to be silent, but you listen. You absorb the vocabulary of armament and communication. You understand that information can be intercepted, that a signal can be jammed, that a machine is only as reliable as its ability to speak without being overheard. Here is another choice. You have two choices: become a silent ornament in his gilded rooms, or use every dinner and every technical discussion as a private classroom. You choose the classroom. That choice changes you. You do not become an arms dealer. You become a person who understands that war is not only fought with steel, it is fought with signals. As Europe moves toward war, the luxury around you begins to feel like a cage with better curtains. You see what is coming. You know that your Jewish family is in danger, that Austria is being swallowed, that your husband's circles are close to powers you cannot trust. You have two choices: remain protected inside a wealthy but controlled life, or leave certainty behind and enter an unknown future. You choose to leave, and that choice costs you the comfort you have known. Later accounts differ on the details of how you crossed borders and boarded ships. What is certain is the leaving. You step away from the castle, from the marriage, from the expectation that you will stay. You reach the United States and enter Hollywood. A studio executive gives you a new name, one designed for marquees. The old world is behind you. The new world gives you a contract, a public image, and a place in the most glamorous machinery on Earth. The premieres are bright. Studio contracts bind your time. Lighting technicians spend hours finding the precise angle that makes you luminous. Costume designers cut fabric to hold the eye. The public is fascinated. You become one of the most famous faces of Hollywood's golden age. But there is a loneliness in being marketed as an image. You stand at the center of a crowded premiere and understand that the crowd is looking at a reflection, not at you. Between takes, you are alone with your thoughts. You still take things apart. You still ask how systems work. The world rarely asks. This is a decision. You have two choices: protect the successful actress persona, or risk being dismissed by revealing how seriously you think about science, machines, and war. You choose to reveal it slowly, in private first. And that choice changes the distance between the woman in the light and the woman in the laboratory. The gap widens. You can be admired for your face and ignored for your mind in the same hour. You learn that glamour is a strange currency. It opens many doors, but it makes people assume you came only to be photographed. Then the Second World War begins for the United States. You decide that being admired is not enough. You want to help the Allied war effort. You join the machinery of war bonds and troop entertainment, because that is what stars are asked to do. But you also begin to think about a specific problem. A radio-controlled torpedo can be jammed if its frequency is discovered. In 1940, you meet George Antheil. He is an experimental composer, a man who thinks in rhythm and sequence. You are a movie star who thinks in systems and signals. The partnership looks unlikely from the outside. But the two of you share a recognition. Timing can be the difference between being heard and being intercepted. You talk about frequency, that if a transmitter and receiver jump together from one frequency to another, a signal becomes harder to follow. If the pattern of jumping is known only to the sender and receiver, an enemy cannot easily jam or detect the communication. George brings the image of player piano rolls, synchronized code. You bring the problem of torpedoes and radio control. You have two choices. Dismiss this collaboration because you are not an engineer and he is not a military man, or form an unlikely partnership and develop the idea. You choose to work together. And that choice changes what the world thinks it knows about you, even if the world does not yet know. You give time to the invention. You work after studio hours. Through the pressure of contracts and public appearances, IT is not a hobby. It is a serious attempt to solve a wartime problem. You have another choice. You have two choices. Use your public image only to entertain and sell war bonds, or invest time and reputation in an invention that powerful people may not take seriously because it comes from an actress. You choose the invention, and that choice places your mind directly against the era's most comfortable assumption, that a beautiful woman cannot also be a serious inventor. In 1941, you and George Antheil file for a patent. The filing describes what you call a secret communication system. In 1942, U.S. patent number 2,292,387 is issued under the legal name Hedy-Kiesler-Markey. The technique is not magic. It is a synchronization system in which radio communication hops across frequencies according to a shared pattern. The military does not use the original system during the Second World War. You do not profit from it during your lifetime. The invention sits in a file while the war continues. This is one of the sharpest reversals of your life. The public sees a glamorous actress. The serious technical idea receives little recognition at the time. You have two choices: retreat into the safety of the star image and never mention the invention again, or keep the private knowledge that you tried to solve a problem larger than your own fame. You choose to keep that knowledge. And that choice does not change how the world treats you, but it changes how you carry yourself through the years. The public narrative continues. Premieres, magazine covers, studio lighting. You are among the most admired women on earth, and yet the thing you most want people to see is invisible. You are looked at constantly. You are listened to rarely. Hollywood changes. The studio system tightens and then fractures. The roles grow fewer or more complicated. Career pressure rises. Personal isolation settles in. Fame does not protect you from time. The difference between public fame and being truly understood becomes a wide, quiet corridor. You have two choices: become bitter about the mismatch between your image and your mind, or continue to think, build, and observe even when no one asks. You choose to keep thinking, and that choice does not erase the loneliness, but it gives it a shape you can endure. You live through decades in which the name on the marquee remains luminous while the woman behind it becomes a footnote. Your beauty is remembered. Your technical work is not. You watch other minds take credit for the digital century that will later grow from secure communications, and you remain patient in a way that is almost unbearable. The later years are not a tabloid story. They are quieter, smaller, marked by the gap between what the public believes it knows and what you actually carried. You are not broken by the gap, but you are tired of it. You do not stop thinking. Then recognition arrives late. In 1997, the Electronic Frontier Foundation acknowledges your contribution to the history of communications. You are still alive to hear it, though the world has spent most of your life not listening. The acknowledgement is not a victory over time, but it is a signal finally received. More recognition follows after your death. In 2014, you are inducted posthumously into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. The frequency hopping technique you helped develop is now recognized as an important development in the history of secure wireless communications. It is not that you invented Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, or all modern wireless technology. It is that you saw a problem, shaped an idea, and filed it into a world that was not ready to see you as both. Now the ending returns to the opening theme. You have lived a life in which the world decided your face was your destiny and spent decades refusing to see your mind. You have been framed, admired, ignored, controlled, escaped, renamed, marketed, underestimated, and finally recognized. The cost of being looked at but not listened to has been real. The choice to keep thinking anyway has been the only answer you could give. Congratulations, you have lived the life of Hedy Lamarr. Today, you are about to experience a life where your ship disappears beneath the ice, your destination becomes impossible, and 27 men are waiting for you to decide whether they will ever see home again. You were born in 1874 in Kilkea, County Kildare, Ireland, into an Anglo-Irish family whose name and expectations already reach far beyond the quiet fields around you. The house is comfortable, but the world outside the windows feels larger to you than any lesson taught indoors. You are a restless boy. Ordinary life fits you badly, like a coat cut for someone else. You do not yet have words for the hunger, but you feel it whenever you look at a map and notice how the edges fade into blankness. Your family moves to London, and the pressure sharpens. You are expected to become respectable, to earn a place in a world of schools, professions, and polite conversation. But you cannot stop wondering what exists beyond the edge of maps, beyond the last telegraph wire, beyond the reach of the safe and the known. The city teaches you to move among people, to read expectation and ambition, but it never quiets the restlessness. At 16, you choose the sea. The merchant navy is not the romantic adventure that distant harbors promise. It is hard labor, salt crusted in every crease of clothing, cold that soaks into bone, and a hierarchy that does not care who your family was. Storms arrive without warning and leave without apology. Cabins are cramped. The work is repetitive and often dangerous. You learn to climb rigging with frozen fingers. You learn to watch a senior officer's face before a gale and understand that weather is a language men must learn or die ignoring. For years, the sea is not glory. It is discomfort, boredom, homesickness, and the slow discovery that you can endure more than other people expect. You learn to read men as carefully as weather. You learn that some men grow louder when they are afraid. Some grow silent. Some need to be told exactly what to do. Some need only to know that someone else has decided. That knowledge stays with you. In 1901, you join Robert Falcon Scott's Discovery Expedition, and Antarctica enters your life as something almost unreal. The ice is blinding. The water is black. The wind is endless. The silence is so enormous that it seems to press against your ears. Antarctica does not care how famous you are. It does not care how educated you are. It does not care how much you want to prove. Scott chooses you for a southern sledging journey with Edward Wilson. The three of you drag loaded sledges across a surface that seems designed to break men down. Each step is a negotiation with pain. The dogs weaken. The rations shrink. Frostbite turns your skin into something unfamiliar. Your body begins to fail you. Hunger hollows you out. Weakness becomes humiliation. In 1903, Scott sends you home early because your health has collapsed. You have not reached the pole. You have not come close to it. The ship carries you north, away from the White Continent, and the wound is private and deep. Other people may see an ending. You see unfinished business. England receives you, but the applause belongs to other men. You stand at the edge of their success and feel the cold weight of being remembered as the one who was sent back. That feeling does not break you. It becomes fuel, but it also becomes a scar. For years, you refuse to let the first failure define you. You lecture, you write, you persuade. You raise money from people who are not sure they should trust a man sent home sick. You borrow, you argue. You risk your own name on an expedition that could fail before it begins. In 1907, you lead the Nimrod expedition south. It is your command now. And that changes everything. Every decision is yours. Every man who suffers does so because of a choice you made. The small hut at Cape Royds becomes a world of routine, smoke, crowded bunks, and the constant pressure of men watching you for reassurance. You ask them to follow you into a place that can kill them. You carry that knowledge in your chest every day. The southern journey toward the pole begins with Frank Wild, Eric Marshall, and Jameson Adams. The four of you move farther south than anyone has before, but the food is nearly gone. The men are collapsing. The return journey is becoming a calculation of what a human body can survive. You can continue chasing the pole and possibly die with it in sight, or you can turn back and bring your men home. You choose the men. The decision feels like defeat in the moment. The pole is close enough to haunt you, but you do not believe the distance can be crossed without leaving bodies on the ice. You turn back. That choice becomes the foundation of your leadership. Even if it does not feel like triumph when your boots are bleeding and your stomach is empty, you return to England as a hero, but the satisfaction is uneven. Audiences applaud. Newspapers print your name. Money comes and goes. Yet the unfinished thing still sits inside you. Applause fades faster than ambition. Lecture halls blur together. The only thing that remains constant is the knowledge that you turned away from the pole once. In 1911, Roald Amundsen reaches the South Pole. Your original dream changes. You decide to attempt something even more dangerous. The first crossing of Antarctica, sea to sea through the pole. The plan is vast and ambitious. You name the ship Endurance. The name is not an ornament.It is a statement about what you think will be required. You know this is not a voyage of simple curiosity.It is a gamble against ice, weather, distance, money, war, and human limits. In 1914, you sail south aboard Endurance with 27 other men. The crew is not a faceless mass. There are sailors and scientists, carpenters and cooks, a photographer and officers. Some are experienced, some are young. Some have never seen pack ice before and do not yet understand what it will demand from them. Each man carries his own fears, hopes, and private reasons for being there. Endurance becomes a warm wooden world surrounded by frozen emptiness. Below decks, there are the smells of pipe smoke, coal, damp wool, cooking fat, and men living too close together. Above decks, the horizon is white and black and infinite. The Weddell Sea closes around you. The ice traps Endurance before the expedition can even begin its crossing of Antarctica. First, there is patience. The men work. They read. They play games. They care for the dogs. They take photographs. They repair equipment. They wait for the ice to release the ship. But the ice does not release It tightens. The first terrible sounds of ice pressure against the wooden hull come at night. Beams bend. Planks groan. Dark water rises into the hold. No amount of courage can save the ship. The ice does not care about your plans. It does not care about the crossing. It does not care that the world is already at war and that this expedition has become a small tragedy inside a larger one. You order the men to abandon Endurance. They move supplies, lifeboats, food, instruments, photographs, and fragments of normal life onto the ice. Some men work silently. Some curse. Some stop for a moment and look back at the ship as if it might still win. It does not win. The ice crushes Endurance slowly. The frozen sea takes the ship down piece by piece. The moment is not quick. It is a long, groaning surrender. Then the surface closes over the wreck, and the ship is gone. The mission is gone. The crossing is gone. The only remaining objective is simple and enormous. Keep every man alive. You establish ocean camp. The men live in tents on moving ice. Rations are limited. The ice cracks beneath them at night, sometimes close, sometimes far. They listen to it like a predator moving around the camp. You ration food. You preserve routine. You defuse conflict. You set examples. You refuse to let despair become contagious. Leadership is not merely confidence. It is noticing who has stopped speaking. It is seeing who hides fear behind jokes. It is knowing who needs work, who needs hope, and who needs the truth. Some possessions must be abandoned. Some animals cannot be kept. Some dreams must be buried with the ship. The dogs, once full of life and purpose, become a burden that cannot be fed. The decision to shoot them is one of the quiet horrors of survival. You do not have the luxury of sentiment. You only have the responsibility of keeping men alive. Time passes on the ice. Ocean camp gives way to patience camp, and the name becomes a kind of endurance in itself. The ice drifts. The horizon offers nothing. Food grows shorter. The men grow thinner. Some days the cold is so profound that it seems to erase thought. You keep the men moving when movement is possible. You keep them working when there is no movement. You give them structure because structure is a shelter when the body has none. You watch for the moment when waiting becomes more dangerous than moving. That moment arrives. The ice begins breaking apart. The floes shift and split. The camp is no longer safe. You decide to launch the lifeboats. The boats are small and overloaded. The water is freezing. The waves are impossible. The men are exhausted. Wet clothing clings to skin. Hands become too cold to grip oars. The terror of realizing that dry land might still be beyond reach sits in every chest. Still, you row. You navigate through broken ice and black water. The sea does not soften.It does not reward perseverance. It simply allows the boats to move sometimes, then tries to swallow them at other times. Finally, Elephant Island appears that it is the first solid ground many of the men have touched in months. The relief is profound and immediate. Men fall onto the rocky shore. They lie still. They breathe. Then the relief begins to fade. Elephant Island is barren.It is isolated. It is far from any shipping route. No one will pass near enough to see them. No rescue ship is coming unless someone goes to find one. You stand on that desolate shore and understand that the hardest decision is still ahead. You choose the small lifeboat James Caird. You take 5 men with you. Frank Worsley, the navigator, Tom Crean, John Vincent, Timothy McCarthy, and Harry McNish, the carpenter. You leave 22 men behind on Elephant Island under Frank Wild's leadership. You promise that you will return. The promise is not just words. That it is a burden you will carry across every wave between you and safety. The scale of the gamble is almost impossible to hold in the mind. A small open boat must cross roughly 800 nautical miles of the world's most violent ocean to reach South Georgia. The winds in that sea are notorious. The waves are among the largest on Earth. That a single capsize means death for all 6 men, and death for the 22 left behind. McNish works to strengthen the boat. That he raises the gunwales. That he builds a makeshift deck from spare wood and canvas. The men load ballast, water, food, and navigational instruments. The farewell is quiet. The men on shore watch from the rocks. You do not know if you will see them again. You do not know if anyone will. You climb into the James Caird, and the sea takes you. The voyage becomes a relentless rhythm of survival. Ice freezes on clothing. Waves tower higher than the boat. Darkness erases the sky. Men vomit over the side. Thirst thickens their tongues. Their lips crack. Their hands are raw. Navigation depends on brief glimpses of sun through cloud, on Worsley's careful calculations, on a sextant held by shaking hands. You watch the men closely. Some grow too weak to speak. Some sink into a kind of waking sleep. You ration the drinking water. You assign watches. You do not allow panic to take root. The sea does not relent, but the boat holds. For 16 days, the James Caird fights its way across the Southern Ocean. Then land appears, South Georgia. The shock of seeing it is almost too much for exhausted minds to accept, but the relief is short. You have reached the wrong side of the island. The whaling stations and safety are on the far side. Between you and them lies an unmapped spine of mountains, glaciers, and ravines that no one has crossed. The boat is beached. You find a small cave for the 3 men too weak to continue. Vincent, McCarthy, and McNish. They cannot climb. They can barely walk. You decide to leave them with what supplies remain. Then you choose Frank Worsley and Tom Crean to cross the mountains with you. The 3 of you begin the walk without a map, without proper climbing equipment, with almost no sleep, through terrain no one has crossed before. You move through darkness. You climb steep slopes of ice and rock. Falling ice crashes somewhere below or beside you. Hunger gnaws. Your legs tremble. You push on because stopping now means death for everyone. At one point, the 3 of you slide down a mountain together in the dark because there is no safe way to descend. You survive by luck as much as by will. Then, in the distance, the fragile sound of the Stromness whaling station's whistle reaches you. It is faint, almost imaginary. But it is real. The sound gives your legs permission to keep moving when they have nothing left. You reach the whaling station. The men there are hardened by whaling, accustomed to rough seas and rough men. They do not recognize you at first. Your face is gaunt. Your clothes are torn. Your skin is raw from wind and salt. You and Worsley and Crean look like men who have crawled out of the sea. But you have reached safety. You have not reached the end. Reaching South Georgia does not end your responsibility. You cannot rest while 22 men remain trapped on Elephant Island. The men you left in the cave on South Georgia are rescued first. Then you begin trying to return to Elephant Island. The first attempt is stopped by sea ice. The second attempt fails too. The frustration is a new kind of torment. You are safe, warm, and fed. They are not. You feel the distance between yourself and the men on that island every hour. You refuse to accept that they have been lost. You keep trying. You persuade. You borrow ships. You beg for help from governments, whalers, and anyone with a vessel. The war drags on in Europe, but you do not let that become an excuse. Time is running out. Finally, the Chilean vessel Yelcho, commanded by Luis Pardo, reaches Elephant Island on August 30th, 1916. You stand at the rail, searching the shore through the gray light. You see the men on shore. The boat moves closer. You count them. You cannot believe what you are seeing. All 22 men are alive. They wave. They shout. They gather near the water's edge. The relief is not loud in you.It is quiet and enormous.It is the feeling of a weight that has been crushing your chest for months finally loosening. The rescue is not a heroic tableau.It is men climbing into a small boat, too thin and too tired to speak. It is rough seas and careful hands.It is the slow return to a world they may no longer recognize. All 28 members of the Endurance crew survive the ordeal. Every single one that you bring them home. But the return to a world changed by World War I is strange. The war has made your expedition feel distant, even irrelevant to many. Men you left behind have died in trenches while you were fighting a different kind of survival. You are celebrated in some circles, but the celebration is complicated. Survival does not erase debt. It does not erase ambition.It does not erase grief.It does not erase the hunger to go south again. The public fame is real, but the private financial struggle is persistent. You remain restless. You owe money. You owe explanations. You owe the story to the men who trusted you. In 1921, you leave once more aboard Quest. The mission is less defined than before.It is partly science, partly exploration, partly the old pull of the ice. You return to South Georgia, the place where one chapter of your life was saved. You are 47 years old, and your body carries the cost of everything you have asked it to endure. There, on South Georgia, your heart fails. You die in 1922. The ice does not claim you in a dramatic scene. The sea does not swallow you. Your heart simply stops. You do not conquer Antarctica. You do not cross the continent. You do not reach every goal you set. You turn back within reach of the pole. Your ship is crushed and swallowed by the Weddell Sea. Your crossing never begins. But when the original dream dies beneath the ice, you find a greater purpose, bringing people home. That purpose does not make you flawless. You are ambitious and often restless. You make mistakes. You gamble. You are sometimes too proud. But you do not abandon the people who trust you. You do not let your own hunger for achievement outweigh their lives. The boy who left home at 16 because the sea promised a larger life could not have known where that hunger would take him. He could not have known the cold. He could not have known the failure. He could not have known that his greatest story would be not a crossing, but a return. You travel from merchant sailor to failed explorer, from near-pole leader to shipwreck survivor, from commander of men on the ice to a man who sails a small boat through monstrous waves because a promise has no weight unless someone risks everything to keep it. Your ship sank. Your destination became impossible. Your dream was crushed, but not one man died. That is the life you have lived. Congratulations. You have lived Ernest Shackleton's life.